culture, music, news and more. Open mic, we open door. If not your voice, we go amplify. Emirate radio, make you testify. Emirate radio, make you testify. On Emirate radio, 98.5. The voice of the people, we they come alive. Your story, your sound, your melody. Emirate radio, 98.5. The voice of the people, we they come alive. Your story, your sound, your melody. Your tempo. Emirate radio, 98.5. The voice of the people. Donny on the beat.
Ètí rí tó máa sanwó gẹ́gẹ́gẹ́ nígbà tó lè rójúlówó ọjà lówó tó relẹ̀. Ṣáà ti download Femtech mobile app nísinsìnyí. Kó o sì máa jìfà ìdíwọ́ ìpolongo tó ń lọ lọ́wọ́ lórí owó.
Yeah, I'ma turn it up. From the heart of Ilorin City, where the people they talk no bit. 98.5 on your dial. Emirate radio, feel the vibe. Now the sound of the street we they carry. Joy and truth, we know they worry. From morning gains to nighttime flow. Every voice matter, everybody know. The Emirate radio, 98.5. The voice of the people we they come alive. Your story, your sound, your melody. Emirate radio, 98.5. The voice of the people we they come alive. Your story, your sound, your melody. Open door.
We are the voice of the people. The voice of the people. Emirate Radio, 98.5 FM.
A beautiful Wednesday morning to you, wherever you are tuning to Emirate 98.5 FM, and I welcome you all to another insightful edition of the Daily Rundown. Of course, the Daily Rundown is a program where we take you around the stories making around in the Nigerian dailies. I am Taufiko Belu, and I'm not here alone in the studio this morning. I am with
Omotolani Dari. Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning, Kwara. Good morning, Ilori. And good morning to every listener out there. And you're tuned into Emirate Radio 98.5 FM this beautiful Tuesday morning on the program, The Daily Rundown.
Alright, today being the 29th of April in the year 2026, I'll be walking us through the Vanguard newspaper and the Nation newspaper.
From my end, I'll be taking the Punch and Daily Post.
Starting with the Nation newspaper, FCCPC probes bread quality claims.
NEMA evacuates 12 children, 10 infants, 159 others from Libya.
Court adjourns suit seeking to uphold King Gibe's suspension from ADC.
Still on the Punch newspaper, we have Southern monarchs back national development agenda.
Telecom operators seek urgent action against network sabotage. Details of the story is in the Nation newspaper.
EFCC boss laments diversion of varsity students' fees and others.
Akpabio declares Jimoh Ibrahim seat vacant.
Presidency counters Northwest neglect claims, lists ongoing projects.
Federal government seeks end to financial market barriers for women, youth in fishery. Details of the story is in the Nation newspaper.
Still on the Punch newspaper, reps approved Tinubu's $516.33 million loan for Sokoto-Badagry Superhighway.
Moving on to the Vanguard newspaper. Family recounts horrific killing of Abuja core member, demands justice.
NACA unveils technical team for AIDS control in Anambra.
Jet A1. Middlemen defy regulators' pricing ban. Raise price to 2,230 naira per litre in the Vanguard newspaper.
Now on Daily Post, I have Lagos Task Force denies deploying officers to arrest motorists.
Tinubu kicks off 2027 re-election bid as APC begins sales of forms.
Bandits demand 5 million naira tax from Katsina villages.
2027 polls. ADC PRP blow hot in the Vanguard newspaper.
Finally, from my end, I have police arrest officer over public execution of Nigerian in Delta.
2027 CSOs won against impulsion of candidates in the Vanguard newspaper. Right about now, we go on a very quick break. When we go back, we dive into the details of the stories. Please stay with us.
Alright, if you're just joining us, you're tuned into Emirate Radio 98.5 FM on the program The Daily Rundown. We've walked you through the insights. Now we dive into the stories. However, do not forget to follow us on all our social media platforms at Emirate Radio 98.5. You can listen and you can follow for updates and interactions on our website at www.emirateradio.ng. And you can be part of the conversation via our student line at 0705 690 2827, 0705 690 2827 or 0903 191 7355, 0903 191 7355, and our WhatsApp number at 0913 415 8376, 0913 415 8376. Right about now, we dive into the first story on Punch newspaper. NEMA evacuates 12 children, 10 infants, 159 others from Libya. The detail says the National Emergency Management Agency has received 181 Nigerian returnees from Tripoli, Libya, under the assisted voluntary return program facilitated by the International Organization for Migration in partnership with the federal government. The agency stated that its Lagos Operations Office received the returnees in collaboration with the National Commission for Refugees, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons. According to the statement, the National Emergency Management Agency, Lagos Operations Office, in collaboration with the National Commission for Refugees, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons, has received 181 Nigerian returnees from Tripoli, Libya, under the ongoing Assisted Voluntary Return Program facilitated by the International Organization for Migration in partnership with the federal government of Nigeria. According to the statement, upon arrival, officials of the Nigerian Immigration Service carried out biometric registration and documentation to ensure accurate records and facilitate seamless reintegration. It's a long read. For details, please check the Punch newspaper on this headline. NEMA evacuates 12 children, 10 infants and 159 others from Libya.
Starting with the Nation newspaper, where I have this headline: NGBV protects women, girls. The details of the story says, Alaki of Egbaland, Oba Adedotun Gbadibo III, has called for moral reorientation and stronger community leadership to curb violence against women and girls. He spoke at Nigeria's 6th Men Only Town Hall meeting at Alausa Ikeja with the theme, A Cultural Roadmap to Ending Violence Against Women and Girls, which focused on cultural accountability, community responsibility, and the role of men in ending gender-based violence, represented by Boba Gunwa of Egbaland, Toye Okanlaun. The monarch described the situation as appalling and long overdue for decisive action. This kind of engagement is long overdue. When you look at what our guests, our sisters, and our daughters are going through today, the situation is alarming, he said. He said the rising cases of gender-based violence reflects a breakdown of values within families and communities. Well, for details of the story, you can grab the Nation newspaper with the headline, NGBV protects women, girls.
Presidency counters Northwest neglect claims, lists ongoing projects. The presidency on Monday pushed back against what it described as false narratives that President Bola Tinubu has neglected the Northwest, stating that the administration has made significant investments in infrastructure, health, and transportation across the region. The rebuttal was made on Monday at a pre-tour media briefing in Abuja, convened by the Renewed Hope ambassadors ahead of a nationwide project showcase tour that will begin in Kaduna and other Northwest states. The presidency listed projects ongoing in the region, including a $2 bill standard gauge rail project linking Kano to Maradi in the Niger Republic, which it said is now 60% complete. The senior special assistant to the president on media and special duties, Tunde Rama, who also serves as the RHA's director of media and publicity, said the visit was designed specifically to counter the perception that the president had not kept faith with the region. For details of the story, please visit the Punch newspaper on this headline. Presidency counters Northwest neglect claims, lists ongoing projects.
Lagos Task Force introduces branded jackets. The details of the story says, Chair of Lagos State Environmental and Special Offences Task Force Unit, Chief Superintendent of Police Adetayo Akerele, has distributed branded jackets to the ad hoc security personnel of the agency drawn from the Nigerian Legion. Akerele said the initiative was designed to ensure the easy identification of personnel during field work. In the statement, he said the public had accused the agency of deploying street urchins or thugs during enforcement, allegations the task force denied. According to the chairman, the new jackets will provide a visual distinction for authorized operators and eliminate impersonation. The jackets are not just uniforms, they are symbols of accountability. Every operative can be easily identified, and this will help curb misconduct while reassuring the public, he said. Well, for details of the story, you can grab the Nation newspaper with the headline, Lagos Task Force introduces branded jackets.
Alright, still on the Punch newspaper. Troops arrest 2, intercept AK-47 rifles in Delta raid. The detail says, troops of the 63 Brigade, Sector 1, Joint Task Force South, Operation Delta State, have confiscated 4 AK-47 from suspected criminals during an operation at Ogidingben community in the Warri Southwest local government area of Delta State. The operation also led to the arrest of 2 suspects. According to the statement, the operation was conducted following reports of sporadic shooting in the community. Acting on credible intelligence, the troops responded swiftly and confiscated 4 AK-47, 6 magazines, 106 rounds of 7.62 mm special ammunition, 2 knives, 10 machetes, and 4 pairs of rainbows. The Army spokesperson disclosed that the suspects are currently in custody and undergoing further investigation. For details, please check the Punch newspaper.
Alright, moving on to the Vanguard newspaper. Tinubu hails Cardoso's reform, banking recapitalization. The details of the story says, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has praised Olayemi Cardoso for leading reforms at the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, saying his policies are helping to rebuild Nigeria's economy for long-term growth. Speaking after the March 31, 2026 deadline for bank recapitalization, Tinubu described Cardoso as committed and focused. Specifically, he said the reforms, including foreign exchange changes and tighter financial regulations, have improved investor confidence and strengthened the system. I must single out one man here, Olayemi Cardoso. Thank you very much for all that you are doing for the country, President Tinubu said in a stirring speech that highlighted the government's macroeconomic program. In a personal vote of confidence and appreciation of the expertise, discipline and integrity of the CBN governor, President Tinubu said he has unshakable confidence in Cardoso's understanding of what to do and when and how to do it. The CBN governor's successful handling of recapitalization included the management framework for 3 intervention banks, namely Union Bank of Nigeria, Polaris Bank and Keystone Bank, which are yet to fully complete recapitalization due to ongoing legal and regulatory issues. The bank watchdog has assured the general public that these banks are still operational, stable and capable of meeting banking requirements. For details of the story, you can grab the Vanguard newspaper with the headline, Tinubu hails Cardoso's reform, banking recapitalization.
Alright, we'll go on a quick break. When we're back, we'll dive into the rest of the stories. Do not go anywhere, keep listening.
From relationships to real life, from career moves to cozy cheats, from fashion trends to everyday slay, from laughter to lessons that truly matter.
Welcome to Ladies Hangout, a space where women talk freely, honestly, and unapologetically. It's about love and life, style and confidence, dreams, dilemmas, and the many sides of womanhood.
Join Treasure Ajayi and Oluwadolako Bamboye on Ladies Hangout, airing 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. every Thursday on Emirate Radio 98.5 FM.
Whether you're at home, on the road, or taking a breather from the day, pull up a chair because every lady deserves a safe place to gist. This is Ladies Hangout, where women connect, share, and grow together.
The nation has a story, and every story deserves a voice.
My name is Bukola Omoshu, and I have my guests already seated in the studio.
Godfatherism over the years, I must be very sincere with you, has not been a usual game as it used to be. Look at the history right from time immemorial. There have always been one political mentor mentoring a particular mentee, are the owner of the directive. They are the big wigs. They know how to get everything in charge.
The will of justice grinds slowly.
How is it possible for a NYSC copper coming to this state to be getting more salary than a level 8 and
Comrade, at that point I want to come in. At that point I want to come in.
How this time around?
No, I'm not allow you to go with it.
No, but the truth about it is that in politics there's no permanent trade or anything.
We have a lot. We are looking at big years.
I'm happy.
Well, we are coming home now.
Standpoint. Your take, your voice. The nation has a story, and every story deserves a voice.
You're welcome back. If you are just tuning in, this is Emirate 98.5 FM and the program is the Daily Rundown. Don't forget you can be part of the conversation by dialing our studio line on 070-5690-2827. 07056902827 or 09031917355. 09031917355. You can as well drop us a message via WhatsApp on 09134158376. 09134158376. Now diving into the rest of the story. Jet A1. Middlemen defy regulators' pricing band. Raise price to 2,230 naira per litre. The details of the story says, despite a pricing advisory by the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority (NMDPRA), oil marketers have continued to sell aviation fuel, also known as Jet A1, to airlines at 2,230 naira per litre and above, deepening concerns across Nigeria's aviation sector. The NMDPRA had earlier indicated that aviation fuel should sell within a band of 1,760 naira to 1,988 naira per litre in Lagos and about 2,037 naira per litre in Abuja, based on prevailing market fundamentals. The guidance followed a series of stakeholder engagement involving aviation operators, oil marketers, depot owners and other industry players aimed at resolving recent disputes over pricing. However, market checks by report show that actual transactions remain significantly above the regulator's benchmark, with airlines still paying as high as 2,230 naira per litre. Findings indicate the strong demand for Jet A and the activities of the intermediaries seeking to maximize margins are major factors sustaining the elevated prices. Industry sources said the supply chain, often involving multiple middlemen between depot and end users, continues to exert upward pressure on final prices. Well, it's a long read, but to have an insight into the story, you can grab the Vanguard newspaper with the headline, Jet A1. Middlemen defy regulators' pricing band. Raise price to 2,230 naira per litre.
Alright, now on Daily Post, I have this headline: Lagos Task Force. I'll take that again. Lagos Task Force denies deploying officers to arrest motorists. Lagos State Task Force has refuted reports alleging that its operatives are positioned around the Sheraton Link Bridge towards Okpebi and along Toyin Street to apprehend motorists making turn in those areas. The claim, circulated by an unidentified individual, warned drivers to avoid turning at the locations, alleging that task force officials were lying in wait to arrest violators. Responding to the allegation, the agency's Director of Public Affairs, Badeyo Abdurrahim, described the reports as inaccurate and misleading. He explained that the task force had altered traffic enforcement activities in line with a directive issued by the Commissioner of Police, Fatai Tijani, on April 1, 2026. According to him, the agency's recent operations have been limited to environmental enforcement and the apprehension of suspected miscreants, not traffic violations. Abdurrahim urged members of the public to disregard the circulating claims, reaffirming the agency's commitment to lawful operations and efforts to curb criminal activities across the state. For details, please check the Daily Post.
Still on the Vanguard newspaper, Tinubu kicks off 2027 re-election bid as APC begins sales of 4. The details of the story says, President Bola Tinubu yesterday formally launched his 2027 re-election quest by purchasing the All Progressive Congress APC presidential nomination and expression of interest forms in Abuja. A combined fee of 100 million naira was paid on his behalf by loyalists and support groups drawn from across the country. The president was represented by Reps James Faleke, who represent the Ikeja Federal Constituency of Lagos State in the House of Representatives and serve as a leading figure in the Tinubu Support Group (TSG). The forms were presented to Faleke by the APC National Organizing Secretary, Sulaiman Arugungun. In the same outing, Faleke also collected nomination forms for 3 other aspirants: Lagos Deputy Governor Dr. Bafemi Amzat, who is the Lagos APC Consensus Governorship candidate for 2027, incumbent Senator Idiat Adebule of Lagos West, and himself as a seat a return to the House of Representatives. Addressing journalists after the exercise, Faleke pushed back against suggestion that any single individual or group had sponsored the presidential form, insisting the funds were pulled by over 1,000 contributors from across Lagos and beyond. There is one particular person that has done this. It is on behalf of all Nigerians, just as we did pre-2023 election. I was also privileged to buy the form with some leaders. Here again, I am privileged to buy the form on behalf of all Nigerians. For our president, for our performing president, he said. He expressed confidence in the presidential electoral prospect, adding, by the grace of God, he will contest and he will win the election. Well, it's a long read but to have an insight into the story, you can grab the Vanguard newspaper with the headline, Tinubu kicks off 2027 re-election bid as APC begins sale of forms.
Bandits demand 5 million naira tax from Katsina villagers. The details on the Daily Post says, armed bandits have reportedly asked residents of several villages in Dan Musa and Matazu local government areas of Katsina State to pay 5 million naira as a form of tax. The affected communities include Mara Dangeza, Unguwa Tofa, and Gidangoje. According to reports, the attackers gave residents a deadline to make the payment or risk being attacked. A security expert in the Northwest region, Bakat Singh, shared on X that this development comes despite a peace agreement reached between local stakeholders and the bandits in November last year. The new threat has forced some families to leave their homes out of fear. Alright, for details, please check the Daily Post.
Still on the Vanguard newspaper, 2027 polls, ADC PRP blowout. The details of the story says, the African Democratic Congress, ADC, yesterday rose to the Chief Justice of Nigeria, CJN, Justice Kudirat Kekereekun, seeking quick delivery of judgment in the leadership crisis threatening its political fortunes. The party, which is home to a coalition of frontline opposition figures in the country, lamented that if the Supreme Court did not deliver its judgment within the next 3 days, it will face the grave and irreversible risk of being excluded from participating in the 2027 general elections. The letter, dated April 28 and written by Senator David Mark-led faction of the ADC, drew the attention of the CGN to the elections timetable and schedule of activities that were earlier released by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. The party, which in a separate statement alleged that the crisis of the People's Redemption Party, PRP, was caused by the All Progressive Congress, APC, spoke as the PRP said it is ready for any manner of aggression, warning that its restraints should not be mistaken for weakness. While it's a long read but of an insight into the story, you can grab the Vanguard newspaper with the headline 2027 polls, ADC PRP blowout.
Southern monarchs back national development agenda. The Southern Nigerian Traditional Rulers Council has reaffirmed its commitment to fostering unity among traditional institutions in the region and pledged continued support for national development and stability. The position was reached at a meeting at the council held in Port Harcourt, Rivers State, where members emphasized the importance of unity, inclusivity, and collaboration in advancing regional and national development. In his address at the plenary, the chairman of the council and the Oni of Ife, Oba Adeyeye Ogunwusi, stated that the council remained strictly apolitical. He added that resolutions from the meeting would be formally communicated to the president as a demonstration of the council's readiness to collaborate with the federal government. In a communique signed by its publicity secretary and Ezearo of Arochukwu Kingdom, Dr. Ebere Chukwu Oji, the council resolved to ensure greater inclusion of state chairmen in the council's executive structure to ensure broader representation. For details, please check the Daily Post.
Nigeria's non-oil exports hit $6.1 billion, reached 210 markets. The details of the story says, Nigeria's non-oil export sector recorded a historic milestone in 2025, with exports value hitting $6.1 billion and markets reach expanded to 210 countries. The Nigerian Export Promotion Council, NEPC, has disclosed. Executive Director of NEPC, Noye Ayeni, who made this known in Abuja at a conference theme, Strengthening Women-Led Business for Resilience, Recovery and Inclusive Economic Growth, said the performance underscores Nigeria's growing capacity as a regional and global trade hub. For details of the story, you can grab the Vanguard newspaper.
Alright, and that wraps up today's edition of the Daily Rundown, live on Emirate Radio 98.5 FM. Do not forget to stay tuned, stay informed, and keep listening to Emirate Radio 98.5 FM. And yes, I am Omotolani Dari.
And I am Taufiko Bello. Good morning.
Emirate 98.5 FM.